Hello and welcome to this third Virtual She Music interview. My name is Fabrizio Ferrari and our guest today is Robert Estrin. Hello Robert, and thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure to be here with you today.
Born into a family of musicians, Robert Estrin is an acclaimed pianist, teacher and composer who has performed nationwide and throughout Europe. But Robert's real passion is for the piano itself, its construction secrets and its fascinating history. This passion led Robert to create the Living Piano, a journey through the history of the piano. Well, Robert, could you please tell us more about this creation of yours? What is the Living Piano and how did this idea start?
Well, you know, Fabrizio, I come from a musical family. My father, Robert Estrin, is a concert pianist, as well as my sister, and my whole extended family are musicians. And, you know, I've performed for many years, but I noticed something, particularly in this country, which is that audiences are aging. I play concerts, and oftentimes, you know, I am the youngster in the group. And so I felt a real need to try to bring younger people into the fold. And I came up with an idea of a concert experience that would show the whole history of the piano in one fell swoop. And so I embarked upon this project, and now in conservatory, I actually majored in piano and French horn. I never really had a background in the early instruments. So the first step was acquiring them. So I got a harpsichord and a beautiful two-manual French model harpsichord and a replica of Mozart's piano. And what I do now is I take these instruments out, and dressed in period costumes, I do a concert playing all the period styles on the authentic instruments. I have a young protege, Bijan Tagavi, who comes out as young Mozart, and I perform this with orchestras at art centers, community centers, conventions.
Wow.
And for audiences of all ages seem to really like it, and it's a way to bring people from a wide cross-section to the wonders of the piano.
That's wonderful. I'm thinking it's a kind of interactive performance with your public where people ask you questions?
Exactly, yeah. As a matter of fact, at the end of all performances, I allow the audience to come up to the stage and try out these instruments. And
oh, really?
Yeah. So we have a lot of fun with it.
Wow. And I was wondering, what kind of questions do they typically ask?
Well, it depends. You know, I did a performance, for example, for the Piano Technicians Guild National Convention, and they had very technical questions. I also did it for the Music Teachers Association annual convention, and once again, different set of questions. Now, I did one in Santa Monica for an elementary school, and as you might suspect,
yeah, sure.
There were very different questions there. So there's a wide range from technical questions, musical questions, questions about the touch, and I do involve the audience, particularly when I'm doing this for younger audiences. I bring kids up throughout the performance, so instead of just telling them about how these instruments respond, I'll say who has taken piano lessons. I have people come up and I say, play this, and I ask them to describe the touch so that they can share with their peers what these instruments are like.
That's pretty interesting. Wow, that's wonderful. And I know also you're a passionate piano collector, of course. So my natural question is, what do you like the most about the piano?
The piano, there's a lot of things, boy. That's a great question. The piano, for one thing, is not only an instrument that is intrinsic to all other instruments, in that if you are a solo violinist, flutist, French hornist, clarinetist, cellist, it doesn't matter, singer, when you play a solo performance, you are playing with a pianist. So a piano is a part of a piano trio, it's a part of a string. I mean, there's so many ensembles where the piano is part of. Yet, the piano is also the quintessential solo instrument because you can play complete scores, and it's very gratifying to be able to play complete music. And the repertoire is unbelievable. It's unparalleled. The amount of music written for solo piano exceeds all other instruments combined.
Yeah, I understand. I'm a violinist, but I prefer to play the piano for fun. Yeah, because the violin is taking just 50 minutes to tune it up, and then we're ready to go. But yeah, I love the piano too, actually.
Yeah.
And just out of my curiosity, how many pianos and ancient keyboard instruments do you currently own?
Well, you know, as I said, I grew up with not only a musical family, but we had multiple pianos in our house. And, you know, if you go back to the golden era of pianos prior to World War II, there were hundreds of American piano manufacturers. In fact, at one time, there were 1,800 factories producing pianos in the United States. Contrast that to the present, where last year there were only a total of 1,600 pianos built in the United States. So I've made it a personal mission to find these pianos and bring them back to life. So an adjunct of my Living Piano Journey Through Time is my Living Pianos classic restored pianos, and I have Steinways and Blutners and Baldwins and Bechsteins. Wow. All these instruments, some of them are only you know, maybe 20 years old, some of them going back to the 1800s, all meticulously restored. And because of the economy, nobody else is buying these instruments, and I shudder to think about what happened to them. And as a result, also, the prices are incredibly low for what you get, because a new Steinway or Mason and Hamlin, which are the last remaining American piano manufacturers, you know, started about the $40,000 range.
Yes.
And these instruments I'm able to acquire and have rebuilt. I could sell for a tiny fraction of that and help art centers and pianists and families who appreciate the difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm wondering, do you have most of those pianos downstairs here?
Yes, you know, we're fortunate to, you know, have found this beautiful loft here in Orange County. And the upstairs where we are now is actually really a concert space where we have Art District Concerts. Yeah. And artdistrictconcerts.com is information about that. Downstairs, I've got a good deal of my collection of instruments, and I also have a studio in Laguna Beach where I have concert grands and some other.
Where we met.
Yes,
I remember that.
I have a lot of really large grands over there.
Yeah, great. So I'll be sure to check them out before leaving downstairs.
Absolutely.
Great. And looking ahead, what are your plans for the coming years, and what exciting events you have scheduled?
I'm bringing my Living Piano near and far, Bakersfield, Temecula, some places. I finally outfitted my van so I can move the instruments myself.
Oh, wow.
Because that's been a major expense, and it's also been kind of more tension than anything else. It's like waiting for the movers to show up and kind of waiting, are they going to get here? So now I can control that, so I can really bring my Living Piano to more distant locations, because I've concentrated mostly on Southern California, but now I can just pop these instruments in the van. It's been custom fit. And so that's one thing. And the other thing is starting this concert series here, because as you well know, moving to the loft here in the Santiago Art District is a recent thing for my wife Florence and myself. Sure. And we have started the Art District Concerts, and we have our first concert is actually Friday, so we're starting with a big bang, and then we have a whole series planned of masters and mentors where we have some extraordinarily talented young artists on the first half, and then seasoned professionals on the second half, which is a very nice way to introduce the public to these emerging artists and to have the young artists inspired by the professional musicians.
Wow, that's wonderful. I hope to be able to come, because I'm really interested.
Love to have you.
Wonderful. So for everyone interested in learning more about Robert Estrin and his Living Piano, please visit www.virtualsheetmusic.com/interviews/Estrin to find links to Robert's videos, his websites, and get in touch with him. So it's now time to move on with the questions we have been collecting over the past few weeks from our website audience. We received more than 30 questions and let our audience decide which ones they liked best through a voting system we have on our website. So here are the most popular questions for you, Robert, today. The first question is by Ben, who asks, I will be interested to know how Robert feels about today's great advance of digital pianos.
Digital pianos are an interesting offshoot, and you know, the capabilities are far greater than what an acoustic piano is capable of. For example, you know, for people living in apartments, to be able to practice with headphones, being able to tie into personal computers for music notation, for recording, and to be able to expand the sound palette with virtually any instrument or sound effect possible. These instruments are terrific for that. And there's music software for learning theory and all of that. But if your primary motive is playing the piano, there's really no substitute for the expressiveness that a piano has. As good as digitals are, you plug them in and they sound the same no matter what. You know, they're very easy and all of that. A real piano has, just when you push a key on a grand piano, you're setting in motion almost 100 parts, whereas on a digital, you're setting about 2 or 3 parts. So obviously, it's not going to have the same level of expressiveness. As far as the sampling, while the basic tone is precise because they're recording real pianos, there's only so many recordings they can do, and there's only so many things they can take into account. Of course, they keep getting better, and for certain applications, they are actually terrific. Like, for example, if you wanted to put some background music to a video, whether it's a real piano or a digital piano, makes not as much difference. And to record a real piano, you'd have to tune it, mic it. It would be a whole day project, where this, you can plug it in, boom, you're done, and it's probably good enough for the background on a commercial or something like that.
Yeah, sure. From my personal experience, I have a digital piano, of course, that I use for work. And sometimes I use it just to play myself some Gershwin because I enjoy to play sometimes. But my feeling is after a while I get tired from the keyboard of the digital piano. So probably because of mechanics, completely different. And my hands just hurt a lot after a while. So yeah, quite.
On a footnote to that, you know, years and years ago, back when MIDI first came about, I became one of the first dealers in the country to offer MIDI retrofits to acoustic pianos. And it occurred to me back then, and this was decades ago, that somebody should take a real piano action and with a digital sound so you can at least get the feel. And it finally has happened, and Yamaha has something they call the Avant Grand. And they have a real grand piano action in a box. And you know, for a practice room piano or for a restaurant, a place, because I can tell you every conservatory I've ever been to, any music school, the practice room pianos sound hideous because you can't keep them in tune when people are playing on them 20 hours a day. The hammers get hard as rocks and they can never be voiced properly. And this is a great alternative for applications such as that.
Absolutely. So the next question is by Peter Crane, who asks, Robert, do you have a favorite manufacturer for top quality performance pianos, and why?
You know, as I said, today there just are 2 companies left, and I should mention there is a third relative newcomer, Charles Walter in Indiana, who builds about 60 pianos a year. Mason and Hamlin and Steinway are the others, and altogether they're only making less than 2,000 pianos. They're both great pianos, but you know, my favorites are, it comes down to the individual piano. And Bechstein and Baldwin and Knabe, all these companies from years ago, even A.B. Chase, companies you haven't heard of, Conover, Hazelton. You know, when there were 1,800 piano manufacturers, you got to figure that there had to be at least a couple of dozen that were top-notch instruments, and each one has its own personality.